Good morning. Happy Friday. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I almost said afternoon. That's crazy. But thank you for joining us this morning for our Friday huddle. This is one of my personal favorites for our huddles. It is our Equity in Action panel. So we have some amazing folks here to share and talk to us about their journey in the industry and what equity looks like for them. So, with that, I won't talk too much, you know me, but I will pass it to our panelists. And okay, I don't know if they're all on the top of your screen, but what I'll do is I'll pass it to Shambi to get us kicked off with our intros. And then, Shambi, you can pass it to another panelist.
Sounds great. So my name is Shambi Broom. I'm a web developer. I'm a web agency owner, and I founded the nonprofit Web Girls Code, where we focus on giving girls and women superpowers through computer science. I'm located in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm going to pass it to Ariana.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Ariana. I'm a software engineer. I work for Booz Allen Hamilton. What else? I founded a women in tech group within our project in Booz Allen, and I'm also a Develop Carolina alum. I'll pass it to Katie.
Good morning, everybody. I met you all briefly. Was that last week? Gosh, it's been a long week. It's so nice to see you all again. As a quick reminder, I'm the COO here at Build Carolina. I'm in Charleston, and I'm really excited to talk to you all about this subject that I'm very passionate about. And I'll pass it to Nye.
Hello, I'm Naisha Green. I am a software developer. I'm a tech instructor for LinkedIn Learning. I'm a project manager. I'm an owner and also a nonprofit founder, both related to tech. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I haven't seen everyone in a long time, and I'm just so happy. I love this panel, so I'm ready to talk. I'm going to, is that, wait, was that a last one? I was the last one. Okay, yeah, I'm ready to talk.
Thank you all so much. Once again, we're so happy you're here. And we just can't wait to hear all of the amazing things that you will share with us today. For our apprentices, we're going to start off with just a quick image, and then we'll talk about that. And then we have some questions, but I really want to prioritize any questions that you all have. So if there are questions you have throughout the panel, feel free to raise your hand, drop it in chat, whatever, so that we can ensure that your voices are being heard as well. With that, let us get kicked off with a little bit of discussion. And we are just going to show this image. This is our favorite image to show to start talking about equity and equality and what this means. So, of course, if we look at equality and then we look at equity, equality is obviously making sure everyone has the same thing, right? And then equity, what this picture shows us is ensuring that everyone has what they need, which may look a little different for other folks, what they need to all be able to see on this thing, see the same floor, but be able to reach their goals, essentially, is what our thoughts are here with equality and equity. And here's just another image to show that. But based on these images and based on what you know about equity, equality, what do you feel as an apprentice is equitable in the tech place? So I want to ask the apprentices first to tell me what your thoughts on equity and what that looks like in the workplace are. Don't be shy. Go ahead, Jamie.
I'll kick it off. To me, I feel it's partly like it kind of showed in one of those images, accessibility, the ability for no matter who it is able to be able to contribute and run with the projects that we're working on, or be able to have a project that caters to everybody, kind of thing, and taking that into the forethought when developing of knowing like who all is going to be interacting with this software.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much, Jamie, for sharing that. Any other apprentices before we pass it on to our panelists to talk to us about what they think equity and the place of equity and equality looks like in the workplace? All right. I'm going to pass it to whichever one of our panelists wants to get us kicked off there.
I'll go ahead. Oh, Shambi unmuted at the same time. You okay? So I think it's important. I also I love actually Alex has brought this up in the past when we've had this discussion is kind of looking at that image. There's the, everyone has the right size step stool, and then there's another version of that where the fence is removed completely. And so I think it's about so being an equitable workplace, for instance, is really when all people have fair access, opportunities, resources, and really the power to thrive with consideration to their specific needs and with consideration to kind of trying to eliminate historical and systemic barriers in the workplace. And by inequality on the other end of that, as we kind of saw, is just making sure everyone's treated identically, which may look good on the surface and may be like, well, we treat everyone the same. But at the end of the day, that actually does not create an equitable workplace because not everybody needs the same thing.
And
I was so scared of being a woman in color going into tech, or a woman of color, and I was brand new, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just gonna be tech bros and everybody's gonna be awful, and I'm terrified, and I did not have that experience at all. And I worked for 2 different companies, and I just like freaked myself out about it. So just know that it's not everyone's experience. Like Shambi mentioned, not everybody's experience is going to be the same. So you can go into your job search being aware of that fact, but don't make that the expectation. Just always be aware. And then if you do come across something like that, I think the best piece of advice I got was at it was like a DEI session for managing microaggressions in the workplace. And the biggest thing they said was just protect your peace. Whatever you need to do to protect your peace, do that. Because it can happen and it could just be itching at the back of your brain if you don't address it. So sorry, that was all over the place.
Y'all do not apologize. All of these are, again, extremely important. And one thing that we didn't mention at the beginning is, we always record our chats, but this one specifically is being recorded because next week is National Apprenticeship Week. And we're going to be sharing this with our network so that we can talk about women in apprenticeships and talk about how important it is for that representation and things like that in the workplace, specifically in tech, but overall in our workplace. Go ahead, Katie.
This is just the perfect segue for another comment I had. So I'm going to take a moment to talk about women in apprenticeships specifically. So apprenticeships have generally been seen as and associated with a lot of blue collar jobs. So traditionally apprentices were carpenters or been in manufacturing, construction, HVAC repair, things like that are also very male dominated roles. And so the perspective is shifting, but it is still very slow moving. So that is just something to call, I think, attention to as apprenticeship is becoming more and more involved in tech, which again continues to be a male-dominated industry. Women in apprenticeship can really stand out. And so I love that we as a program have had really high number of women in pretty much all of our cohorts. And I think that's really, more than just tooting our own horn. Like, I think it's really important to highlight because unfortunately it continues to be so rare. One of the things recently that I found really, really interesting was that there was a STEM conference in Florida, and a friend of mine went to support her college-age daughter. And one of the businesses that was there as a sponsor was called Peggy Workwear. And this is something I've never thought of before because I am not in a job where I am in manual labor at all, but it is technical workwear made by women for women. So it is for women who are on job sites. It's for women who are in more trade roles and who have had issues with kind of these like uniforms that are typically made for the male body. And it's like, I had never thought of that. And so I think it's really interesting to explore and try to find examples of things like this to help us broaden our knowledge, our experience, and like understand what is happening in other industries as well. Kind of in that same vein, I saw yesterday on LinkedIn that there was a post where a gentleman working on a construction site had a safety vest and a helmet that on the back said, "I forgot my PPE." So if you're not familiar, PPE is personal protective equipment. And it was pink. And so essentially his punishment for not remembering to bring his PPE to work was that he had to wear pink. And so there are some things also like that that continue to be pervasive in these more trade type of environments and trade skills that we see mirrored in other ways in more white collar jobs, or I guess that's what tech is considered, whatever it is. But anyways, all of that to say, as more and more women enter into apprenticeship across all industries, I think we just need to be really, really aware, as maybe the folks who are in the majority, to create more inviting spaces and to look around us in our workplaces and in our apprenticeship programs and see if there are issues that can be resolved to make it a more welcoming and nice place for people from all different backgrounds. And so hopefully for National Apprenticeship Week, that's something that can be highlighted, because I know it's not just for tech apprenticeships, it's for all apprenticeships. But it's just important to, like, again, I never thought of any of those things because I am not someone who's been in a trade before. So anyways, very cool. Alex.
Can I quickly yes and you, Katie? I don't want to drag us out too far. But some kind of cool things. I've been lucky to have folks around me who were willing to give their time to explain things I may not have thought about. And so what I want to challenge y'all to do, exactly to Katie's point, is to think more deeply about the why when you see things that might be innovative but seem trivial. So it might be kind of silly to be like, oh, workwear for ladies, that's kind of silly, but it's actually a really real need. But I want to give you another example that was something I didn't really think about years ago now. Under Armour came out with a magnetic zipper. It was a jacket that had a little zipper that the clasp would just magnet on. So you didn't have to like fiddle with the clasp and get things in place. And it got universally mocked. The news had articles written about how silly it is that zipping is a solved problem. Who's going to be lazy enough they're going to pay extra money for a jacket with a magnetic zipper? You can't figure out a zipper? And it was really almost vitriolic. It was a weird pushback. And at the time, I kind of saw it, and I thought, like, oh, okay, that's kind of silly. Like, why would you need that? Zippers are fine. And somebody pointed out to me that the tech for it was actually created as an accessibility assistant. If you only have one hand, a magnetic zipper is a life changer. If you have arthritis, that's something anybody in here could develop over time. That's a life changer. If you're holding a baby and you need to zip your jacket up before you go outside and zip their jacket up, that's a life changer. And Under Armour, to their credit, was charging a little bit more for these jackets to fund the development that had gone into this. Same kind of thing for shoes that you slip into. I think Skechers typically steals other people's technology and then markets as their own, so I don't want to give them too much credit. But recently in the past few years, there have been a lot of shoes that were kind of split break that you could step into that would sort of wrap around your foot. Again, if you can't bend over, if you don't have full mobility, that is a life-changing assistive technology, and they're using a broader market to fund the research and development of those things. If you're not thinking about the why and where these things come from and who they might help that you're not considering, it's really easy to blow it off as just silly marketing. But it really, I encourage everybody here, when you see something in the news, in the media, something being sold, and you think, oh, that's silly, why do we need that? That's dumb. Nobody would ever use that. To consider that kind of a red flag and to step back and say, okay, who actually might use that? And can I support them and help them by supporting and spreading that technology in my network, in my communities, kind of signal boosting it? That is, Jamie, to your point, that is one way that you can really help other folks, is by being a signal boost and just getting information out there. So it's cool to hear about the Peggy thing. I hadn't heard about that, and I won't make the crass joke for the other major competing brand in workwear, but that's a really fun one, and I think it's something everybody here should kind of make part of your practice as you consider things.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex. And also to piggyback on Alex, check out all of the assistive technology that is out there. So many of that can help you as you continue to do your job and make more accessible platforms for our communities. There are so many cool, a lot of state agencies, I think they actually allow you to come in and see the assistive tech. They do free presentations so that you see all that is out there to really support folks who may be differently able. So I love that you mentioned that. And I also love how Katie talked a little bit more about women in apprenticeships. And I did want to say, as we're celebrating National Apprenticeship Week, I think apprenticeships are one of the most accessible ways to learn and train. You have your traditional apprenticeship where you get people that come in and they do not know the skill, but you start at the ground level and you get the education, and then you learn that skill usually within about 2 years. Our model of apprenticeship, a competency-based apprenticeship, you already know the skill, you have the skill, but there were still some barriers in you getting the jobs that you would hope for and that you were applying for. And so apprenticeship provides this model to help you continue to gain more skills, to get that training that you're looking for, to get your foot in the door. And it does the same for traditional apprenticeships as well. And so I do want to just, applaud Build Carolina a bit, because this current cohort, we have 57% in a tech apprenticeship of women or women identifying. So 57%, which is well above our industry standards. And I absolutely love that. Also, we have 27% that identify as a person of color. And again, above industry standards in the technical world. So apprenticeships are a really great way to get super diverse audiences to make sure that our workplace is more inclusive and shows what is out there, what our environment truly, truly looks like. Tyreek.
Yeah, just kind of wanted to piggyback off of what Alex and you said about um, access to certain things for certain groups of people. And I think since this is being recorded, I know this will help somebody else out in the future. There was a platform that I used called Brilliant Black Minds that was a technical interview practice platform for Black people that wanted to be in technical roles or went to boot camps who were having troubles with finding opportunities. And I think that I remember when I was applying for this apprenticeship that I was like, I need to do as many as I can before I even get to the interview with you and with Alex. And I went through 8. I remember Alex was like, yeah, it seems like you have some practice with this. And I was like, yeah, I do. I have a lot of practice. But it's cool that there's a platform like that, because coming from a boot camp, I only had a mentor who was kind of like a talking point where I didn't have that space to learn from somebody. But when I found out about that, I was able to talk to people from different companies and ask them about their experiences with interviews specifically, and getting those roles, because it is a lot more difficult as a Black person to get into any type of software engineering role, even though I know a lot, but it's harder to find a platform or a place where you can talk about that and learn. So I just want to kind of plug that in there, because it does, these platforms do help people, and it helps the space become more diverse as a whole.
Thank you for sharing that, Tyreek. That is really important and not something that I had heard of. So I love to have another resource to add to our bank to help share with folks, so that we are, again, creating these spaces that we want to live in, we want to work in. So thank you so much for sharing that. Go ahead, Tyreek.
I just wanted to add that it's by the company Carry, but the main investor behind it, or I don't know if she's the main investor, but Serena Williams is the reason why this started. So it's really good. It's really well. And they do a thing where if you have a certain amount of experience and you do well on a certain amount of practice interviews, that they'll set you up with first round interviews with their company, with the partner companies within the program. So yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask all of our panelists if there is a final word that you have to either just showcase your journey, talk about equity, diversity, all of that in the workplace. Any last moments or thoughts that you would like to share with our group today?
Well, I'll just say what I believe 100%. I always tell people own the space that you live in when it comes to tech. Don't rent it. Know that you belong. And so when you have that mindset of ownership, think about if you're somebody who wants to buy a house, how important is it? Like, I want to own a house, but you get mad when you can't. That's how I want you to feel about your space in tech. Like, own it, you belong. Don't let anyone, if you rent it, someone can always come along and tell you, I need you to move. No, that's not what we're doing. So know that you belong, and just find, you've got great mentors in the DC community. And then once you, graduate, find that community or that mentor that can help you along the way. And I'm not talking just like a one-off, someone that you feel years down the road, even if you haven't talked in a year, you can be like, hey, I'm looking for a new role. Can you give me a hand? Find those people that'll be there to support you.
My advice is to build a network. If you have a good network, share your network with others. This is another thing I put in the chat. If it weren't for the white male friends I made and mentors I made sharing their networks with me, I doubt I would have. I don't doubt myself actually. Let's go back. Let's talk about that confidence. I don't doubt myself, but I wouldn't have gotten as far as quickly as I did. Your network is going to save you. The jobs I've gotten in the last 2 years have all been through other people. And I've been lucky enough to know mentors of privilege who have gone into their networks and reached out and given me opportunities or opportunities to find other opportunities. We talk about carrot. It's just, I love carrot. I'm glad you brought it up. There are a lot of job boards that are going away. Women Who Code is gone. That job board gave me my first interview in tech. And it was equitable. The job paid well. The company was great. I didn't get the job, but it was a start. And networks will be even more important to people. I know someone that works for almost every major tech company in the world because I kept talking to people and people kept leveraging networks for me. I work for LinkedIn and I actually do my third course next week, y'all. That is the best job I've ever had. I get to go live my Silicon Valley life with amazing cafeteria, and I get to be in the studio and get makeup, and I meet people all over the world. Heads of tech companies come to me and they ask me to go over something in their course, in my courses. Talk to people, network, apply for every job, apply for it. There are jobs that say, can you use a computer? I'm like, yes, I didn't even read this. Go for it. Have that confidence. Who cares? If they say no, who cares? No is better than nothing.
Any final thoughts from Ariana or Katie?
I'll just go ahead and say what I've been saying is just do the scary thing. Go for it. Don't be afraid. Well, be afraid and do it anyway, like it's okay. Things could be life-changing, and I say this all the time, but I graduated school with a group of friends and we were recommended Develop Carolina. And we were all terrified. We're like, we're never going to get this. We're never going to get in. We just graduated. We don't know anything. And we all applied and we all got in and we all graduated together and we all worked at the same company together. And it was life-changing. Like, my life is so drastically different now than it was back then. And you never know, what just one leap of faith, like where it could get you.
I just want to say thank you to our Ariana, Shambi, Nye. Y'all every time are just I love hearing and learning from you. I also want to just thank all of our apprentices. Every time we have this conversation, it has the potential of ruffling some feathers, I feel like. But I think this is partially attributed to the fact that we pick amazing people to participate. But I also I love the openness that all of you come into this conversation with. And I hope that if ever anything within these discussions or really anything gives you a point of pause, talk to us about it. We want to grow too. Like we are far from the end all be all and doing all of the right things in DE and I. Like there is room for us to grow. There's room for everyone to grow. And so I just want to encourage you, if there's room for us to do something better, please let us know, like anytime. And then again, just I love being able to hear the questions that you all have. And if you ever have other questions or want to chat about any of this, please reach out. We all would love to continue the conversation.
Y'all, please let's give all of our panelists a round of applause, some reactions or something. The voices, everything that you've shared today has been so helpful. And I know not only did everyone here, were they able to take a nugget of knowledge with them, but I know that when we share this with our communities, you're going to help so many folks. So just thank you for everything that you shared, sharing your experiences, being open, being vulnerable, and reminding us to be an advocate for not only ourselves, but for others as well. Thank you so much. Our apprentices, thank you for asking amazing questions and continuing to push this conversation forward. Again, it is so needed. And we just really appreciate having all of the voices here, and everyone's voice was extremely needed in this conversation. So I just want to thank you all. I want to encourage our folks that are watching out there to look into apprenticeships, see how that can be something that can really help push you forward in whatever career that you may be. But thank you for joining us. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, apprentices. Thank you, Build Carolina, for creating this platform as well. Everyone, please have a great and amazing day.
But before we go, Kara, amazing job moderating as always and all of your great insights. So let's also give Kara a big round of applause. We appreciate you. You're awesome.
Thank y'all so much.